Hi everybody.
Hi there. We wanted to bring you guys up to date a little bit on where we're at right at the moment, and we are in South Dakota.
Now, our videos have been running about a month and a half, 2 months behind due to some technical difficulties. But anyway, we'll get them out there, and in the meantime, we wanted you to see this video. This is a great travel video about a very special place, and I hope you enjoy it as much as we did being there.
Absolutely.
So without further ado, here it comes, and hope you all enjoy it.
See ya.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Sandy.
And I'm Ed.
And this is General, our totally awesome water dog.
We used to live on the Outer Banks in North Carolina, but one day we found both of ourselves unemployed.
So we decided to take a chance. We sold everything, bought a trailer, and left to explore America. We're learning as we go along, but we still make mistakes.
But we get a lot of things right too. So come join us as we learn to RV full-time, explore America, and share in our exciting journey of discovery.
Our next adventure is just over the hills.
Welcome to the Ingalls Homestead. In case you're not familiar with who the Ingalls are, Laura Ingalls Wilder was the author of the Little House on the Prairie book series that inspired the TV series that was made back in the 1980s. Well, this Ingalls Homestead is the original 160-acre land grant that Charles Ingalls, Laura's father, filed back in 1880. This property is huge. It's a half a mile square. And here's a little map of the property, and I'm going to show you around, starting with the visitor center and going clockwise around the property. The visitor center is a mini museum in itself with these carriages right on the front porch. They also have a couple small exhibits inside the building, and what a huge gift shop. Anything that you can think of that has to do with Little House on the Prairie, they've got it, including games and toys for children and an extensive book collection. If any book was written about Laura Ingalls or a member of her family, they've got it for sale in this gift shop. This place is amazing. They do sell stuff online as well, so feel free to check them out and see if you can find something you like.
That they have 4 RV spots. So we're able to stay on site here. It has water and electric hookups, and they have a dump station, but it's a little bit different. It's only gray water. That makes it inconvenient, of course, for we can't use our system inside the trailer, but they've got excellent restrooms, showers too. Showers are a little primitive, but very doable, super clean restrooms. And so we actually extended our stay here for a while.
We've got our own little house on the prairie. There is a little timeline museum that kind of looks like a schoolhouse. It's right next to the RV area. And this includes little exhibits about the different parts of Laura Ingalls Wilder's life. They set up one for, like Pepin, Wisconsin, where she was born, and the book that went along with that section of her life. And then there's another section for Walnut Grove, and they continued on that way throughout the entire building. It's a really nice setup. They've gathered together a ton of information. I think they did a great job. The Homestead Memorial Site is the very first 1-acre piece of land where the family lived while Charles was trying to gather together the things that he needed for his land claim. He did need to build a house, and he also needed to plant 10 acres of crops. So this original 1 acre is where they first lived while they were waiting to get all that stuff done. And this 1 acre has never been plowed. It is virgin property. They have a memorial for Laura that tells a little bit about her life and the timeline of her time that she spent here. And also on this property, there are 4 huge cottonwood trees that Charles Ingalls planted in honor of his 4 daughters. And those trees still exist, and they are just beautiful. Next to that, they have models of what a sod house or a dugout would have looked like back then, and also an example of a shanty. These are pretty awesome to see these buildings that people actually lived in at one point in their lives while they were getting ready to do their claims. Just amazing having 5 or 6 people living in this little tiny house. Continuing across the property, they have a barn with a hay roof, and it houses some chickens and a rooster, and also this beautiful little baby girl cow. She is so precious. I've been visiting her quite frequently during our stay here. She's just awesome little creature. There is also a well here on the property that is a hand crank well near the gardens that you can take a look at. And they have these Heirloom Gardens, and it explains, there's a sign that explains the process of saving seeds down through the years. That you gave seeds to your daughters, and then they grew the plants and saved seeds for their daughters, and how they continued through generations. They have a ton of stuff growing in this garden, and it's doing really awesome. Many different kinds of vegetables. And here is the house that Mr. Ingalls built for his land claim. The house actually was built in 3 parts. The main part is just 1 room, just kind of like a shanty, just 1 room. And then there was a second part built on a little later that included 2 bedrooms, one for Ma and Pa and 1 bedroom for the girls. And then there was a larger room added onto the side at a later date as well that was more of a gathering room for them to do their chores and take care of things, play some music and stuff like that. They have several activities here during the day, during the season. Right now it's kind of off season, so their activities are between 11 and 2. But during the season, they have activities throughout the day for children to participate in, and it's really pretty awesome. They have exhibits set up on the outside, so you can learn about soap making process and how to wash clothes, the way they used to wash clothes back then. The stable building is next, and they have several things going on here. There are some exhibits in the upstairs area, and then downstairs they have a covered wagon hooked up to 2 horses that pull it. And it runs back and forth between the stable and the schoolhouse. And they also have a small miniature pony that pulls a pony cart, and children can ride this pony cart. And there's also the offspring of that miniature pony is another miniature pony, and she just kind of roams free throughout the yard. The owner said that she generally doesn't go too far away from her mother, so that's why they're not too concerned about her running off or anything, but you'll see her wandering around. And there's also a bunch of cats in the farm building as well, calico cats. So West Bethany Lutheran Church is also on this property, and of course it wasn't always located here. It was located several miles away, but when it was in danger of being torn down, it was moved to this property back in 2009. So it's here, and you can tour the inside of it as well. You can see some cropland, which would be the 10 acres of cropland that Mr. Ingalls needed to plant in order for his land claim to be approved. You can see the corn in the picture now. There were also other sections for oats and wheat off to the right of that have already been harvested, but you can kind of see the land where those crops were as well.
Off in the distance there, they replanted, so that's real prairie grass, the way Laura would have seen it. And through that prairie, you can't see them in the camera, but there's gravel paths that you can walk and take in the wildlife.
There's also a natural slough on the property, which is actually wetlands. So it has the slough grass that grows in it, and pioneers actually used that slough grass if they ran out of other things to burn in their fires to keep them warm during the winter. They would dry out that slough grass and roll it into a bundle, a tight bundle, and they could burn that to actually keep them warm. And on the far end of the property, there is a schoolhouse. This is a schoolhouse that, again, was moved from a different piece of property onto this property when it was in danger of being torn down. This actually doesn't have anything to do with Laura. She didn't go to this school. She didn't teach at this school, but it is an example of a school similar to what she would have attended back in her younger years. The covered wagon runs between the stables and the schoolhouse, so you can ride in that covered wagon down to the schoolhouse and back. And they have a bunch of stuff inside the school that you can see, you know, the chairs they would have sat in, the chalkboards that they wrote on, the readers that they used for their education. They have some costumes for the younger girls to wear, so they can get a feel for what those costumes were like. So that's pretty cool
also,
too.
a neat little twist here is they got these little covered wagons, prairie wagons, that are cabins that have electric, pretty primitive electric. It's only like a 20 amp service, but you can rent them and stay overnight.
Live in them for a few months at a time as they tend to a flock of sheep.
Really? So,
Yeah.
okay. The sheep herder's wagon, huh?
Yep. Most of the time when you traveled in a covered wagon, you didn't actually sleep in the covered wagon. So, these ones you can sleep in.
I see. Well, it's a very clever idea.
Of course, they have restrooms with showers on the property, and they are impeccably clean. A little on the primitive side, but very neat and clean.
They've got a great tower to watch wildlife, which I like. I've seen a variety of hawks and kites that are indicative to this area.
We have caught several wonderful sunrises and sunsets during our stay on this property. It's just been beautiful to see that happen over top of the prairie. There are also some historical sites in the town of Smet that concern the Ingalls family. So I did take a tour of some of those. Several of the family members were buried here because they spent such a long time here. Mr. and Mrs. Ingalls, 2 of the daughters, and one of their grandchildren, one of the Laura and Almanzo Wilder's young son that died at birth, are buried here. And yes, Mr. Ingalls was a Mason, so that was pretty cool. So throughout the town area, they also have these signs on some of the buildings that give you a picture and a description of what the property looked like in Laura's time and what it was used for. So that was really interesting. So I copied some of those for you, took pictures of some of those for you so you could see that, what it was before and what it looks like now. I thought that was really interesting. The Laura Ingalls Wilder Memorial Society has a gift shop downtown, and they have some original homes on their property that they do a tour of, and they also can give you a tour of the house that Pa built downtown in 1887 when he gave up his land grant to the Ingalls Homestead. And then they give you a tour of the surveyor's house, which is where the Ingalls family first lived when they came to the Smet area. The surveyors that were working on the railroad at the time had gone home for the winter to spend some time with their family, and they would be coming back in the spring. So they offered Pa use of the house while they were gone. So they lived in there for a little bit before they came out to live in the shanty on the original 1 acre of the homestead, and then worked on making what they needed to for their land claim. So that was their first house here in the area. They also give you a tour of the school, which is De Smet's first school, and this would be the school that Laura and Carrie attended. Laura would have been, like 13, 14 at the time, Carrie a few years younger than that. So they attended that school when they came here. And then they also give you a tour of a reconstructed building that would have been very much like the Brewster School, which is where Laura had her first teaching assignment at. And of course, you'll read in the books that she couldn't stand that teaching assignment. She had to stay with the people that owned the school. She lived with them. And the lady, the wife, was a little crazy at times and very loud and yelling and screaming because she hated living here. So that was very rough for her. And then they take you over to show you the house that Pa built in 1887 after he gave up his land claim and moved into town. His health was starting to be poor, and he did have the store in town to work on instead of having the farm. So he built a 3-room house. So they had the main room, which was kind of like a dining area, kitchen, stuff like that. And then a bedroom off to the side, which was their bedroom, Ma and Pa's bedroom. And then there was a bedroom overhead, which would have been where the girls all slept. And they did make additions later. There was a kitchen added to the back of that main house. And then to the side, they added 2 rooms downstairs, which would be a parlor and a new bedroom for Ma and Pa. And then Mary took the other downstairs bedroom when she came back from blind school. And then later after that, they added another 2 rooms upstairs, So you'll get to see all that. And when Charles passed away in 1902, Caroline was left kind of alone here. Most of her girls had gone away and gotten married and everything, so she was kind of alone. Just her and Mary lived in the house together, and they rented out the downstairs 2 rooms on the side and then the upstairs 2 rooms on the side. So they had some income coming in to live off of, because they wouldn't have Pa's income from the store or anything anymore. They have a very small museum on that gift shop property, and it's just 1 room. But they have this amazing, huge scrapbook attached to the wall with several pages that were, huge, like 2 feet by 3 feet. And it had original photographs, newspaper clippings, letters. It just had a wealth of information in it. I thought that was awesome. And also about a half a mile to the north of town on Route 25, there is a historical marker on the left-hand side of the road, just on the side of the road, and you can pull off to look at it. And this marks the land claim site that Almanzo made after he and Laura were married. So much history in this area, and it's been really awesome to learn everything that I have learned over just the past few days. I mean, this is an amazing property, and it's an amazing little town. The town is so wonderful. It's one of those everybody knows your name kind of towns. They all help each other, and we've seen examples of that. It's just been really amazing to spend some time here.